In light of the recent Japan earthquakes and nuclear disaster, and if you're like me not too long ago, you probably had no idea what people were talking about when they said reactor, fuel rods, spent fuel rods, and others. Well, I'm going to describe to you just what those are. And in addition to that, I'm going to describe what a nuclear power plant does. We have several nuclear power plants here in the United States and throughout the world as well. And after all, if we don't know what they are, how can we know what they do? First, before we go too far into the reactor, let's discuss what they do. According to the article, How Nuclear Power Plants Work, by Marshall Bryan, a Discovery Channel website article, nuclear reactors, in a nutshell, are uranium bundles submerged in water. The water cools the rods during the reacting process. The heated water is sent to steam generators, which generate steam, and steam runs turbines generating electricity. So what are the rods? There are two types of rods, fuel rods and control rods. Fuel rods are made of uranium pellets connected together to make a rod. Rods are then gathered together in bundles and submerged in water for fission to take place. And for those of you who don't know what nuclear fission is, it's when an atom breaks apart, releasing energy in the process. The atom used is uranium-235. They chose U-235 for its ability to undergo induced fission, which is when a neutron is launched at the U-235 nucleus, causing it to break apart immediately, releasing energy in the form of heat. And spent rods are just the way they sound. Fuel rods that have been used up and have been sent to cooling pools to cool before later being disposed of. Next are the control rods. The issue of Time magazine, the week of Monday, April 9th, they discuss just what they do. Control rods are made of either cadmium or boron, which absorb neutrons, either increasing or decreasing the amount of reactions taking place. The control rods can be lifted out of the bundles to allow reactions to start, thus starting the reactor. And if any problems should arise, there are fail-safe mechanisms that will drop the control rods back into the bundles, stopping the reactor. Reactors are also shut off to change the fuel rod bundles. Probably the thing we think of most when we hear the word nuclear power plants, we think of cooling towers. Water, which has been through the reacting process, through the reactor, through the steam generator, is then put through the cooling towers. The water falls onto levels while air is being blown up through the bottom, carrying steam with it. As the water cools, it falls into the basin below. These cooling towers can be 500 feet high and 400 feet wide at the base. And now for disasters. A blowdown is when a potential loss of coolant happens, and if this is to happen, a large amount of water is dumped on the reactor core to prevent what is more known to us, a meltdown. A meltdown occurs when the fuel rods actually melt, melting through the floor of the reactor and into the ground, where when it reaches groundwater, it could potentially violently erupt in a spew of radioactive steam and debris. Protection from these events is described on page 29 of Nuclear Power, A Rational Approach, 4th edition by Robert W. Deutsch. In a typical pressurized water reactor, the reactor is sealed in a 300-foot tall sealed concrete chamber that has special vents that will close immediately if any problem should arise. There are also special chambers for entering and exiting that will prevent any radioactive material from exiting the containment facility. In conclusion, I have described what nuclear power plants are, what fuels are used, how to control them, and just briefly touched on the many security measures taken to protect us from such events. But in light of the recent Japan earthquakes, we can never underestimate our power and, of course, Mother Nature.